All right, so now about Snoke. This was an interesting concept that I can't remember one review or who it was that said it, but everyone was disappointed in the hype about Snoke, and I didn't necessarily care. I mean, I never cared about things like I didn't care about who Rey's parents were. I really didn't. It didn't bother me. I never cared about who Vader's parents were until Qui-Gon asked the question when he was talking to Shmi, who was his father? I was like, oh, that's intriguing. Well, who is his father? And then she was like, nobody. I'm like, well, screw you, movie. Well, I never cared. But I was like, who's Luke's grandfather? It never bothered me. So I didn't care who Rey's parents were. And when they said it was nobody, I'm like, I don't care. I wasn't bothered by it in the first place. But Snoke was an intriguing character. The question is, the big frustration that everyone else had is, he's so powerful, and he's at the top of as the supreme leader, whatever he was, that where did this guy come from, and what was his origin? All the theories about Plagueis and all that stuff aside, that's fine. That's just speculation. But the question that was brought up in this review was this all fan hype? Were we the ones that brought up that this is something we need to know and we were speculating on, or was it actually established that there was something to him in Episode 7? I don't know.
I'm going to say 75% fan hype. I think the Rey thing was much more set up, not only in the movies, but the expanded universe by other characters around, like, who's your parents, or like, where do you come from, or like, who is she? Right. I mean, Ma says that to Han.
Yeah.
Like,
hers for sure was built up.
And it looks like Han might have an answer, and then it cuts away, right? And you're all like, what happened, right? Like, so I actually think there was setup for that. And that's like 75% story setup, 25% fan speculation. Then I feel it's flop for Snoke.
That we were so curious.
We were just so curious. I don't mind that he died. I more am bothered by the way he died.
Okay, how so?
I felt like it was more for shock factor, but that's my...
That he died or the way he died?
That he died.
Okay.
But the way he died, I feel like after everything you've seen of him, force tossing Hux. He was able to
from a hologram.
We don't know how he tainted Ben Solo, but it could have been across galaxies in his mind, or you know, he had some way of talking to him while he was at the Jedi Temple and getting converted or whatever. Like he's some powerful figure. Kylo Ren gets the least bit of resistance in The Last Jedi, and he blasts him away with the Force. Like with a lightning strike. Rey can't do anything to Snoke. She's like completely unable to do it. And then Snoke is unable to see how Kylo Ren is using mind trickery to slice him in half. Like,
yeah.
That's my problem. It's how he died.
It took me several times to really put this together. Rhett, you want to explain? Because you described it the best to me, and it was really intriguing. I mean, I saw it in the movie like the second and third time I saw the pieces, but you had a good way of explaining your take and why it was awesome. I didn't mind how he died. I was disappointed that he died, and that he died halfway through the movie. That should have been a bigger climax, I think, before they went to the second or third climax.
I'm okay with it because that was actually a story moment for Kylo Ren. But let's explain here.
Well, so I think it is, in a sense, the ultimate trickery of Kylo that he was able to do this, because it shows very clearly, like Snoke is saying, I can see his every move I can see his mind. I know every move he's going to make. So Kylo is using that to his advantage, and he even does things like he just picked up his lightsaber off the floor after Rey force pulled it to her, and then Snoke sends it back. He picks it up, and then he does a very subtle twist with it, so that he can turn the lightsaber to strike true, as Snoke is saying. And as he's doing that, he's also using the Force to turn the lightsaber on Snoke's armrest. So it's like he very specifically is making these movements because while he's thinking about him, Snoke's reading his mind, and he's doing the same thing with his own lightsaber that he is with Anakin's old lightsaber up on the throne. And then when he says he turns on the lightsaber to strike down or strike true his true enemy, in that moment, Kylo Ren is thinking of Snoke as his true enemy. That's what allows him to deliver the final
But
blow.
why can't Snoke read that? He can read every thought and know everything, and he can stoke the flames, but he can't read that Snoke is the enemy. That's what I don't believe.
Was he so obsessed with the focus he had on Rey that he was just kind of distracted by it?
I'm saying it's possible. I don't believe it.
He saw it all acting
There's hubris at play.
I understand how it happened.
Right.
I don't believe it. With everything else that Snoke can do.
And the other complaint everyone had is that he can't feel this rattling metal on a metal chair twisting right next to him. He's like, wait a minute. He's like so into him. He levitated around, hit her in the head, but he doesn't feel it.
I think
maybe he thought his phone was just vibrating at the time.
It's like Hutz is calling
space phone.
Hang on, this is good.
Yeah, Hutz is telling me something stupid. I'm gonna ignore it. No, I think it was very much just he thought he was in complete control, and he ends up not being, and that is just pure hubris on his end.
I like how it's visually portrayed. I just don't believe that would have worked. I thought it was a silly way to
I think it's very much the same way that the Emperor didn't know Vader was going to toss him down a shaft into the reactor pit of the Empire, the Death Star.
I like that.
On the other hand, too, just to Zach hinted at this before, but just to address your feelings.
Wait a minute. I'm joining you on this one, and now you're going to twist it and.
Yeah, no, that's we're all amorphous here. We're all switching sides.
All right.
No, just him dying in that moment is very much Kylo's ascendancy, right? This is Kylo's
and that's
moment.
how the Sith or the Knights of Ren work or whatever.
It's how the Sith work. We don't know how the Knights of Ren work because they don't show them. But it's how the Sith works.
Let's leave that for Jacob.
But also, it's just this concept that Kylo sees a chance to take charge, right? He sees a chance to remove the one obstacle in his path. The guy that earlier, this took a couple viewings for me as well, but he says, after Hux tells him the plan about how they're tracking him through hyperspace, Snoke has this line of a Kerr's weakness is a sharp tool or something. That was a very directed thing at Kylo. He was talking about Hux when he says that line, saying that he can use Hux's radical ideas against the galaxy, but he was also talking about Kylo, and Kylo recognized that. Right. So he's utilizing this opportunity to take out his greatest obstacle at this moment. He's already removed his father. He's planning on removing Luke at some point, and the person that's only standing in his way at that moment is Snoke. Mm-hmm. And so he uses Rey as an opportunity to take Snoke out. So that is his ascendancy, and that's also solidifying him as the true villain of this trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't have a problem with it from a story perspective. I'm fine with it.
Great, Josh.
I love that whole scene. I thought the whole scene was great. I thought the scene, watching Kylo, you're thinking he might be turning back and showing his good, but really it was all a ruse, and he was lured back. Even if he was for a moment, I kind of took it as, he's turning back to the good. Rey is convincing him, and then he sees that power from the dark side, that it's available, and he goes back more than it was always a plan. That he was trying to do it. I think it was a situation where he was truly doing the right thing. He did have conflict in him.
Yeah.
And he did the right thing, just like Darth Vader did. But he saw the power, and he took the power. I
think it's a story way of subverting expectations. This is one of the very few that I'm okay with. That I don't like how it happened, but the fact that it happened, I'm totally fine with.
It was like killing Dooku in the first 10 minutes of episode 3.
It's kind of like that. I compare it to the Emperor killing all those Jedi when they arrived to arrest him, too. You're just like, what the crap?
See, I was okay with that, because I knew it was building
This is not meaningful, but it's all right.
So Snoke is going to be one of those guys. I think that, like I said, I was serious when I talk about prequels. These are characters that have a lot of depth that they purposely don't tell you about. Just like Senator Palpatine, he was a big subject in 1 through 3. because you wanted to know how he became the Supreme Leader, right?
Just
and
like
you
Boba
wanted to see
Fett.
that part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so you're.
Are we going to talk about Phasma and how pointless she is in this movie? Oh my gosh!
I didn't
No,
have a problem with that.
no,
She
hold on,
bought
hold on.
points back.
Before we go to that, though, I had one more thing I wanted to say about this, and it just left my head. Oh, that's another thing about Snoke is that, and it had to do with Ryan Johnson and crap. I forgot again. I shouldn't have gone on the Phasma tangent. You have to edit all this out. Oh, that's just it.
Yeah, hang on. We
Okay.
gotta come back in.
We're coming back.
All right.
Okay, no one believes that Snoke is dead. Or very few people
Right.
believe that Snoke is dead. That's another thing I think is relevant to Ryan Johnson's storytelling. Like, I swear at the end of episode 8, no one believes anything that's happened.
Right. You know, it's true. And someone made that point. I can't remember. I think it was Kevin Smith. I don't remember. No, or it was Angry Joe, I think. He said they were so non-committal in this movie. They couldn't commit to anything. Is Luke in a train? I don't know, maybe. Is Rey is she going to be turned at all or tempted at all with Ben? Maybe not. Is Kylo the bad guy or the good guy? We don't know. Is Snoke really dead or something? We don't know. Is Luke this martyr? Yeah, sort of. You know, is Leia going to die? Yeah, no. Like, there was no commitment to any decision that was done. Oh, is Resistance dead? Yeah, no. I don't know. And it's like, we don't know, like you said, and I know Rhett really disagrees with this, but I agree.
Well, I think there's some that are more solid than others, but there is a lot of audiences don't believe what they were told in the movie.
Yes. When Kylo, and I pointed it out with Rhett, that we agree, when Kylo says that you're nobody, he says it two or three times, but when he gets her to say it, because everyone thinks, and I agree, I think it's a manipulation. I think it's a manipulation for him trying to tempt her by making her feel, and it's brilliant, you're nobody. You don't mean anything, you're not a part of the story, you're not a Skywalker, you're not a Solo, you're nobody. But you are to me. That is a beautiful and powerful way of seducing someone in some we've never seen a Star Wars movie before, not that kind of a tactic. You know, Palpatine was praised for, even when he was a kid, he was like, I'm going to watch your career with great interest. Like, you're amazing. You're underappreciated. You are so great. You're the best of everything. And he soaked it. This is like the opposite. And I think it's awesome. But,
Yeah.
But that's not what Ryan Johnson intended.
I know. And I was like, Ryan, you do some brilliant things, but you don't know it.
That's for debate. But
How is that up for debate? He says it himself!
no,
Okay,
he says specifically that Kylo believes it in the moment that he says it.
He said
And
that.
he's leaving it up. But I think this is a
But
good
it's
time
too
to bring up.
non-committal.
There's been some articles online about the Starlog issues from back when Empire Strikes Back came out. And in these Starlog things, they had readers of the Starlog magazine write in about their thoughts on Empire Strikes Back. And there were some people, I have no idea on like actual numbers or percentages or whatever else. There are some people that wrote in to the Starlog magazine saying they did not believe the twist that Vader was Luke's father.
Mm-hmm.
And that's anecdotal, but I think that's still worth noting, that you still had that when Empire first released.
But did George Lucas say to them, and see, people don't know about this, but did George Lucas say, no, it is definitely his father?
Well, yeah,
moment?
but he had the power to say that.
He did it, and social media is not there, right? So it is a little different. It's not like we have instant access.
And Ryan Johnson knows for himself he is not the final arbiter on anything Star Wars.
He does give that
Yes.
caveat. And that's fine. He
Right.
does say JJ can do what he wants in Episode 9, or he's going to do
Because
what
he left
does.
everything up just so indecisively. He really did.
But for the director to say this is what happened, and the audience to go no,
He just kind of
It's
wanted to shake
very
everything up. I
interesting.
think that's what it was.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny that he wanted to shake things up. I just don't think that it's a negative impact on the story. In my
The Snoke thing or all of it?
I do
Just
think I
the
do
Snoke
think the
thing
Rey
and the
thing
Rey
is
thing.
I was
negative.
fine with it.
The Snoke I don't think is as negative. The Rey thing I think is negative. I think it was built up and anticlimactic and not resolved in a way that was
The movie?
it was set up for.
The
No,
movie.
Rey's
Rey's
parentage.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of things not really make sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Last thing about Kylo in those scenes when he's talking to her, this is another nod to what's the kid's name, the actor.
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver.
His portrayal right there, like he is so believe, again, transparent, just like Mark Hamill, like that he wants her help. Not like, oh, you're my son, Luke, you should join me. That'd be really awesome. And it's not like it's a necessity like Count Dooku was for Sidious. This was, I'm intrigued by her. I think he's been obsessed with her ever since he first tried to force her mind, and then she countered it in the first movie. I think he's been just amazed by her. And I think he just thinks, and he's gotten to know her a little bit, and then they had their awesome cinematic lightsaber battle, and that just was the coolest thing ever since Darth Vader in Rogue One. Like, I think I guess that was the last movie, but still, it was awesome. But I think there was a lot of genuine emotion there, and he sold it, and I loved it. I love watching.
I think it's definitely
movie.
worth noting that Adam Driver sells Kylo Ren on like every level. For me,
even
like,
from Force
he's
Awakens, when
just-
people complained about him, I'm like, your complaints are what the character's supposed to be.
Right.
I don't
like saying
like,
Mark Hamill was too whiny in the first movie. Like,
That's his,
Luke.
Well, yeah, and my favorite part is when he's fighting the Praetorians and when he has a showdown with Luke. Like, you can just see the anger and the rage and everything on his face. Like, he is just like unleashed in those moments.
And the last drop, I mean, when nothing was working, that he walks out of the lightsaber or the laser blast from the walkers and everything, and he's just like, I gotta do this myself then. And he goes down and then he makes his first couple of strikes and nothing's working. He's just frustrated. It's so visible how frustrated he is. Not just that he's like, am I going to die? Or he's not fearful or anything. He's just,
he
can't
doesn't
stand this
He almost
guy.
doesn't care about his own safety. He only cares about blowing the crap out of the Falcon and killing Luke.
Yeah.
Those are his only two concerns.
I want to erase everything that has to do with the Star Wars lore, which again was Ryan Johnson's.
But as Kylo Ren,
Two images
it's very,
of Star Wars.
it's
the
very
Falcon and Luke.
amazing that he is that concerned. Like the fact that he is now Supreme Leader, but he can't get past his own rage to focus on the strategic and tactical importance of taking out the base. He only cares about taking out the Falcon and Luke.
Great character.
So I have a question for everyone, because so when I saw it with an audience the second time, Luke confronts him and says, "I'm sorry, I failed you, Ben," and he goes, "I'm sure you are." My audience laughed
I didn't like that
at that line. They didn't like the delivery.
I'm
They
sure
laughed.
you are. It was
Right.
like very high schoolish.
Right. That seems to be their impression.
But
I'm
I
curious
was
at the
okay.
other showings. It didn't happen in my third showing. It happened in the second one.
I didn't hear any laughter. I saw it with an actual theater too far into it for people to.
Yeah, I didn't see any real reaction to that.
I wonder if the second viewing I saw just was an audience that really hated
Yeah,
it.
audiences do have
it
their
was
own
like-
little spirit too.
Well,
They
I think
laughed
it's
at
like
a lot of stuff they shouldn't laugh at.
like Josh was saying, when he saw it, it seemed to be an audience that was super into it. I think that is like, you have audiences that get into it. Like, from what I do for my job, I went in at the beginning of a movie one time, on a couple different occasions. On one, like, it shows Lucasfilm Star Wars with the fanfare and then the crawl. No one cheered.
Yeah.
Another one, it was deafening.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just the type of people that went to see it at those specific times.
And it depends on.
I'm just curious because I don't remember laughing the first time you said "I'm sure you are," but the second time when the audience laughed,
It is a
I'm like,
hokey
oh,
delivery,
geez.
and it's a bad line. But at the same time, when I saw Revenge of the Sith in the theater, opening night of the midnight show, when Darth Vader
of course
goes,
he did. Ha!
When Darth Vader did the no one I never wasn't in a theater where people laughed, but I heard a lot of people were laughing when Darth Vader said no in Revenge of the Sith. I didn't see that. I hated the line.
I think
hated
I
what happened,
cried because I was like, "This is dumb." I was at the
But
end
you
of
were
the
just
movie
getting
like,
back from your mission.
I
you're
just
watching it on
wasted 2
TV.
hours of my life. Like,
But I think it depends on the group. But Kylo Ren, his character is it's another reason, in defense of my review, there were so many good arcs with the characters that I couldn't drop the 2 rating for the characters. Same thing with the CGI. There were a couple parts, most of the things on the casino planet, and then some of the shots.
BB-8 in the background on the Supremacy when he's on the thing, that looked like green screen because you see Phasma and Finn fighting in the front.
Oh yeah,
Him in the back. They looked like they
and
were
then
totally
the
on a
walker
green
running
screen.
through the wreckage is kind of weird. But and a couple of shots with the skiffs, I didn't like the people with the open canopy trying. It didn't look quite right. But there were so many glorious and amazing, beautiful shots that I couldn't do it. So I couldn't drop it. So 0 for 2 on the story. Too many disappointments. Too many letdowns. Too many things that could have been rewritten. That's my rating. But I would just for everyone else, out of 10. Not with my categories necessarily, but what would each of you give the movie? I gave it an 8 out of 10, dropping it for the story disappointments. But
I think I would still give it an 8 out of 10, but for different reasons. I just think the story itself, I did not have a problem with. I think some of the special effects were a little whatever. It's not like a detriment to Lucasfilm in general. It's just like that's what happens when you try to do special effects. Sometimes it doesn't always pull off.
Yeah,
that's fine. And then I had something else. But
maybe music.
The music. Well, even going, I think on more viewings, the music is better and better the more I listen to it. Like the music during Paige's death at the beginning is fantastic. The music, like even during the dialogue scenes is amazing and builds up well. The music that happens while Rey is and lack of music as Rey goes down into the Force, the dark side cave and looks into the mirror. But yeah, I had something else, but I forgot what it was.
8 out of 10, Zach?
7 out of 10
7?
for all the reasons I've said throughout these multiple videos that are going to be
frustrations
released over the next weeks.
All right.
It's a good movie still. That's the thing.
You
Like
defend
it's a good movie. Yeah.
Josh?
I would say I'm liking an 8.75. Like I want to give it a 9. I want to give it a 9, but I feel like there are a couple of things in there that didn't make a lot of sense, and a couple of things that I couldn't give it a straight 9. But I thought it was a really enjoyable thing. And the other thing is I don't really have. Like, I enjoy the Star Wars movies. I've seen them all multiple times. I understand the story. And I have some ideas of what I would want to see happen, or what I thought was going to happen. But I don't have any emotional interest in the story in that I have a vision of how I want it to be that I'm emotionally invested in, I guess. And so I feel like I am in a different space than most Star Wars fans, and that I'm in there legitimately just looking to see how the story ends without having like a preconceived notion of how I think it should end. Yeah. So when it comes through and the story has these plot holes that you point out, and I'm not saying they're illegitimate, a lot of them are legitimate. I'm just not as critical of it because I just never thought of it, until you bring it up. So, so I would say I was really surprised. I'm excited to see the 9th one, to see how it all ends up, how it all goes out, and I hope they continue it because it's a great story. And I hope they continue it on. I hope they come out with prequels so we learn more about these guys. I really do. I think it's a great thing, and I've actually, my family now has a tradition every Christmas. We go and see whatever new Star Wars movie is coming out. So I hope they continue doing it so I continue the tradition. So
bad news this year.
Yeah, they're flipping it back to May, right? Is that official?
Han Solo is May, and then Episode 9 is back to December as it stands right now.
2019.
19.
All right, so
hey, I do. Have
great!
question.
I'll have to see like
For
whatever
Josh.
Christmas movie or Pitch Perfect 4 or 5 or whatever comes out. So.
Perfect.
So you say you're excited for Episode 9. Are you excited just because in general, or are you excited because of the storylines continuing from 7 and 8 into 9? I'm legitimately curious.
I'm in both. Both. I want to see. What happens with Rey, and it's not clear to me where she fits into the story. Like I don't believe she's just some random person who happened to get the Force and have an extra dose of it. Like it's just, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm interested in seeing how that wraps up. I'm really interested in finding out where this DJ character comes in. Like I said, when I saw him and he disappeared, he was the guy who I was like, that guy's awesome.
Right.
He's going to have some really. I hope he has a serious effect on swaying the fight, down the road. So I'm legitimately invested in these characters. I got to say, probably even more so than even the original Star Wars characters, because that whole story had already kind of happened when I started watching them. You know what I mean? So that story had already been set. So I think I'm even more invested in seeing how this ends than I was 4, 5, and 6.
So just a note, from my opinion, your interest in 9 has nothing to do with the storyline. From what you said.
That was a loaded question.
Yeah.
Loaded question.
He's trying to trick you.
No, I'm not. I
It's fine.
said it specifically. Is
No.
it storyline
Yeah,
or whatever?
The point is,
Well, I think I want to see where all these characters do fit into the storyline, right? I mean, the storyline
so because they
seems to
already
me
don't fit.
the overarching storyline to me is the balance in the Force, right? I mean, the balance in the Force and the fight between good and evil. And I want to see where all these characters fit into that overarching story. So I am interested in the storyline, but in the essence of I want to see where these characters fit in.
In one defense of Rian Johnson, and one thing he did really well was he really shook things up with the concepts of the Force, and I really like that. And I hope JJ, because The Force Awakens wasn't really like that, even though the title is The Force Awakens, meaning Rey's just the master of the Force for everyone forever. But I really hope JJ does stay with that kind of that theme and kind of tie it to launch it forward.
He expanded the Force with new interesting information.
Yeah.
That
and
was
it was
cool.
and concepts
glad
like Luke and stuff.
This is being recorded right now.
So there's
For
one defense we
everyone.
had.
Yeah.
Rian Johnson.
No, that's all that matters.
But I
That's all
think
that
when it comes down to there's 3 main questions other than DJ. DJ's a cool character. Hope he comes back. But one, how they can kill off Leia? Well, that's just a meta situation there. That's not a story situation. Is Kylo gonna turn or not? That's my biggest question, because this is the Skywalker saga. It's always been the Skywalker saga, and they're kind of trying to pretend it's not, but it is. And Kylo is the last Skywalker, unless they really screw up and make it Rey being a Skywalker for some reason. That would make no sense at this point. But is Ben gonna turn? Because it also, George Lucas has always said Star Wars is about light versus dark. Now Luke had some interesting things about how the Force is the filler connecting those two things, and he has to keep that balance. But is Kylo going to turn? Is the Skywalker family going to end on a light side note? Or this gray Jedi stuff, which would be okay too. But that's really it. How are they going to kill Leia? What's the deal with Kylo? And are Rey's parents really nobody, how she fits in? But as far as like, where's the Falcon going to jump to light speed and go? Doesn't really matter. Did the supremacy really blow up? Is it going to come back? That doesn't really faze me. Like, there's no open ties. Like, at the end of Empire, there were so many questions that you were, like, on the edge of your seat about. At the end of Episode 7, there were so many questions you were on the edge of your seat about. I walked out of the theater just comfortable, throwing my drink in the garbage, and I
disagree.
I was trying to figure out what just
I
happened.
think there's things to speculate about. I don't think they're based on ongoing story arcs.
I agree.
Except for, there's a couple. It's not that there's none.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's...
But a lot of people said they could start the next
not
movie
based
10
on
years
story
from now,
arcs.
and we wouldn't really be out anything.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
They could, he could get, which is fun. JJ can go anywhere with it if he wants.
Yeah.
But,
Well, we'll see. Anyway.
So what? Can't Rey be like a distant cousin? You know? I mean, come on.
Try and explain
Well,
that. in the
Hey,
movie.
they never talked about the children that Shmi had with
With
Owen's
Owen's
dad.
dad.
Like,
But she wasn't the Force. The Force was the father, so she wasn't Force sensitive.
She had one, though, and it left midichlorians
She's only
behind.
like 18 years old, though. Like, Shmi is
Maybe Han Solo. No. Maybe Leia had like an illegitimate child that nobody knew about.
That would be
Gave
too weird.
Palpatine's granddaughter. That's my thing. She's a Palpatine.
Or a clone.
Or a clone of Palpatine.
Well, I just want to wrap this up with a quick scripture, because I think it's a really cool thing. Like we said at the beginning, the main theme in this whole thing was failure. And I love Luke. We talked about him quite a bit, but it was a powerful, emotional death. Even though I didn't like that he died, it was emotional to say this, and especially having the Luke theme in there, the sunset and everything. It was amazing. But one thing to remember, this is Proverbs chapter 14, verse 32. The wicked is driven away in his wickedness, but the righteous have hope in his death. And I think that's one cool thing that all of the Jedi, Yoda and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and now Luke, the ones that we've enjoyed in these movies, they had optimism facing their death, that they didn't fear death because they were at one. And I think that's kind of a cool thing for us to think about, story, decisions of failure and bouncing back, it's like we said, that's not what defines us. It's how many times we get back up, and Josh could quote a few Rocky lines right there, too, but let's not get into Rocky right now. But I think that's a real cool thing, is that doing the right thing, like Luke always did, you can look forward to death with hope, and I think that's a cool thing. That's the overall theme of Star Wars is hope, and it always has been since A New Hope. So anyway, 8 out of 10 and 8.75. But
yep,
anyway,
8.75.
All right, so I want to thank Rhett Christensen, Zach Marsh, and my companion, Josh Edlow, and thanks for watching Saints on Cinema, our Star Wars discussion on the story and why I gave it a 0 out of 2 for The Last Jedi. But thanks for watching, guys.